Well, hey y'all, welcome back to Life with Nana. I'm Nana and I'm so glad you're here today. Today we are going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But I've got to get it done before it gets really hot here in North Alabama, which it usually goes from being cold to hot. You know how that is. So, my freeze dryer, I have a Harvest Right freeze dryer. And the way our house is laid out, there's just nowhere inside the house for me to put it. So it has to live in the garage. Now, once it gets above a certain temperature, it doesn't function as well as it does cooler. So it takes it longer, and I think it's harder on the machine and all that. So that to say, I found a good buy on some carrots, and I've been wanting to um, freeze dry. Now I have 5 of these trays. My freeze dryer is a medium, and it has a place for 5 trays in it. So, but I want to do these carrots, and I want to shred them up, and then I can use them in carrot cake or muffins or anything that in that application that you would like to use shredded carrots for. One great thing about freeze dried food, first of all, it retains, I may be wrong about this, but I want to say it's around 97, 98% of its nutrients, which is fantastic. That was the reason I wanted to buy the freeze dryer. Up until then, I had been using a dehydrator, which is just fine. It's just fine. But it doesn't get near as much moisture out of your food as the freeze dryer does. And here in North Alabama, we have very hot and humid spring, summer, and fall. And so in order for us to keep the food fresh, I felt like for us, a freeze dryer was a good investment. Now, I realize freeze dryers are expensive. I really like my freeze dryer. I love the fruit when you freeze dry the fruit and how wonderful that is. That's great for smoothies or snacks or, all kinds of stuff. And so today, what I'm going to do, I bought 5 2-pound bags of carrots. And I am going to spare y'all me peeling and getting these carrots all ready to go through the blender. I am looking forward to having some things that I can make something similar to like a carrot cake muffin that I could have for breakfast. I have those bars that we made in a video not too long ago. I have those in the freezer, and I've really been enjoying those. But I really like to have something that you could add to even the cupcake that I showed you guys in another video, the 1, 2, 3 cake. If you haven't seen those videos, just go back and look through my playlist. What I'm going to do now is I am going to get busy, and I'm going to get or some of these carrots, because I don't know exactly how many each tray is going to hold. Okay, I have 4 pounds of carrots that I've peeled, cut the ends off, and I'm ready to get them in the food processor. So let's see how many trays we can fill up with 4 pounds. All right, 4 pounds filled up my food processor. I'm very excited. Let's see how many this is going to do. I thought that probably 2 pounds would do 1 tray, and I think I'm going to be close to that. We'll have some really wonderful, yummy carrot cakes and muffins and all kinds of things. You could even take these and put them in slaw if you were making your slaw ahead of time, once you got them freeze dried, and let them just soak up the whatever you put in your slaw. I usually tend to do mayonnaise slaw, but I know a lot of people uh, do a vinegar based slaw. I've got the freeze dryer already turned on and it's ready to go. It needed about 15 minutes to cool down. It's going to take me longer than that to get this done, but that's okay. So, see you back in a minute. Okay, so we are finished peeling the carrots and we have the last batch in the food processor and we're going to see how many that we get. I think we're going to wind up with 5 trays. And if we do, that's fantastic. Okay, here is my Harvest Right freeze dryer. And I'm going to go ahead and put these in. Let me go get the other trays. And I'm going to hit continue. And now it's going to freeze and it'll go through its whole cycle. Okay, so we're back in the kitchen and I wanted to show you how well these turned out. So I have my big funnel. Got this thing at a yard sale. Had it for years. I use it for so many things. And I have right now 2 half-gallon jars. So we'll see how far that gets us. And I'm just going to get me a little spot to work with. And I have my bench scraper. I really like that to get things off of the trays. I also, off camera, I went ahead and I found some fresh berries in the refrigerator and some frozen ones in the freezer. And I went ahead and put them on an extra tray I had with a lid. And I just went ahead and sealed those up and put them in the freezer for the next batch of things that I want to freeze dry. You can tell by the change in the sound, which is kind of funny coming from Nana because normally I don't hear things very well, but for some reason I can. And you can see this is on there very well, but I am going to put a ring on this. Now, if you were canning something after the process and after you let them sit, you would take the ring off. But here, you want to put this ring on and you want to leave it on there. And that way, if it happens to come unsealed, which it shouldn't with the oxygen absorber in there, making sure I put one in there. The oxygen absorber is going to make sure that it stays sealed. And you don't want to press down because these are kind of like styrofoam and you don't want to cause them to completely crush on you. We're going to put a lid on this one and look how beautiful these are. These are going to be gorgeous on my shelf. All right, so we got, let me get these where you can see them. We got 2 gallons and 1 quart out of 5 2-pound bags of carrots. So that shows you how much they They shrink up, but it won't take much. It won't take much when you're doing a recipe because they'll plump back up. Well, hey y'all, it is a few days later, and I found these beautiful, beautiful uh, cupcake liners. And so today we're making carrot cake muffins out of the carrots that we freeze dried. And so I'm really excited to get this in the oven. I have my oven preheating at 350. I have a clean dishwasher. Everything's been washed down. Everything's ready to go. So let's get this mixed up. I came over for my handy dandy little tool. Now this one is an antique one, but you can buy these from 4Jars. If you're not familiar with that company, it's the lids that I purchase. I love their lids. I love their products. Always real good. Did you hear that? Woof. That's what you're looking for. Now the carrots are freeze dried. Now if you were using dehydrated carrots, I would suggest you soak these a little longer than I'm going to soak these. So my recipe calls for 3 cups of grated carrots. So I'm going to start out with a little less than 2 cups. And I'm going to go ahead and reseal this jar because we don't want air in here, moisture in here. That's the worst thing that could happen to freeze-dried food. So we're going to get that going. I have my kettle going, if you hear it in the background. I'm also going to need some applesauce. So I have that. Let's find a measuring cup. Here we go. All right. So the next thing we need to do is get these soaking. We're going to get these soaking in some warm water. And I have my kettle going. Whew, that's warm. All right, so we're just going to put a little water on these. I'm not going to take much. I may have to add some more carrots. But I think these will plump up. We'll see how that does. So the next thing I want to do is get my KitchenAid mixer over here so you guys can see what's going on. Now my recipe calls for all-purpose flour, and that might be better, but I had this cake flour, and I'm really trying to use this up. This is not something I'll buy again because I think you can get a pretty good product with just using regular flour. I may change my mind in the future when we try to do this with all-purpose flour, but for right now, I'm thinking probably not. All right, so let's give these a stir around. Yeah, looks like we're going to have some more carrots. Keep these kind of stirred around. I'm going to add just a little more water to these. Let that kind of soak up. They will soak up some in the batter, but we don't want crunchy carrots. So let me get I'm going to get a little cool water this time since that water was really kind of hot. We'll cool it down just a little. We're not trying to cook our carrots yet. We want these to be as close to what they were when we put them in the freeze dryer. All right, so my recipe calls for 2 cups of flour. Let me get my mixer set up here. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do, I'll bring you over just a little bit, is we want to add our flour. I have 2 teaspoons of baking powder. That's going to go in. I have 1 teaspoon of baking soda. That's going in. I have 1.5 tablespoons. That smells so good. Cinnamon. You could put less if you are not a big cinnamon person. I have 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. And this is ginger that I freeze dried. So I'm very proud of that. And then we want to add about 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. So I have my whole nutmeg here, and I'm going to just put some in here until I think it's around 1/4 of a cup. 1/4 of a teaspoon, sorry about that. Okay. You can use more or less, depending on what you like. I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm using Redmond real salt. And I have brown sugar. And I'm going to put that in. That was, let me see how much brown sugar that was. 1.5 cups of brown sugar. And I have 1/2 cup of white sugar. And it calls for about 1/2 cup of applesauce. So we're going to use one of these. One of these is about 1 cup. So we're going to do about 1/2 cup of that. And I should have turned the mixer on and let the dry ingredients get mixed up, but I didn't. All right, now I have 3/4 of a cup of oil. I'm using vegetable oil. I find that does better in these kinds of recipes. But you use the oil of your choice. I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to scrape down the sides. And the bottom of my bowl here. It's already smelling divine in here. These are going to be so good. All right. Let's get that back up. Now we're going to add 4 large eggs that I have already kind of beaten together. All right. Scrape it down again. And I'm going to add vanilla. And it calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla. But you know what I always say, measure with your heart. So I probably put more than that, probably 2. I really like vanilla, so if you don't like it that well, then you could put less. All right. Hold in our 3 cups of grated carrots. We want to make sure that these are that the liquid is drained off of them. So I'm going to put some raisins in these. And we're going to give this a gentle stir. And that looks lovely. All right. So let's get all of this wipe back down. Like to have everything kind of cleaned up as we go. Okay, so I found these beautiful cupcake liners, and the instructions say to put them on a cookie sheet and fill with about 3 tablespoons of batter. So what I'm going to do is use a 1/3, no, maybe a 1/4 cup. This is going pretty well, though. I like this. These were new to me. I'd never seen these before, but Walmart had them in this color, which reminded me of a sunflower, and then they had some that were pink that I thought would be beautiful to put red velvet cake in. And get that off of there. With the cream cheese frosting, and that's what we're going to use with these is cream cheese frosting. All right. We are going to put these in the oven, and we are going to bake them, what does it say, for approximately 30 minutes. But I'm going to keep a close eye on these because this, I don't think this has as much batter in it. It might. I don't know. We'll see. But that's how they look right now. Let's get them in the oven. Okay, so I do have some batter left, and I'm going to just line my muffin tin, and we'll see how many we get. Look at this. I bought this at a yard sale. 50 cents for a whole container. And they just sold it because they're mostly like Valentine's. But I don't care. You know, and these don't even look like Valentine's, so I don't care. I every time I see them, I pick them up because I know I'll use them. Use them for everyday use. Makes no difference if they say Valentine's or Christmas or whatever. So we're just going to fill each one of these up until it's ready, and we'll stick them in the oven when the other ones come out. And I will show you how those look when they come out of the oven and we get ready to frost them. Look how gorgeous these are. I absolutely love these little holders, these little cupcake holders. This would be beautiful for a party or something like that. They hold up well. They'll travel well. So that recipe will be in the show notes. And so now we're going to get busy and we're going to do the frosting. And the frosting is cream cheese. It calls for 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese and 1/2 cup of softened butter. That's 1 stick. 2 cups of powdered sugar and vanilla. So I'm going to have to get my butter out. I'm going to pop it in the microwave because I forgot to set it out. We had company come in. Our son came and visited us for a while, and that was wonderful. So I'm going to make a double batch of this frosting because I'm going to be using a piping bag. And I find that typically it takes a little more when you're using that, or at least it does for me. All right, so 1 of our cream cheese is going in. A half a cup of butter. We're going to go ahead and make a double batch because if I have some of this left, I can put it in the refrigerator, and it's really good spread on like graham crackers and then put a little jelly on top of that. That is so good. So it will be definitely used. All right. I ran my dishwasher and emptied it, so I have a clean dishwasher to start with again. The recipe calls for 2 cups of powdered sugar, and I don't know, sometimes they call for more, sometimes they call for less, but the first thing we got to do is get this cream together. All right, that looks pretty fluffy, and it calls for a teaspoon of vanilla. We're measuring with our heart. Put a little more. Nana loves vanilla, so I don't think you can get too much. 4 cups. So I have a 1/3 measuring cup here because that's what will fit down in my jar. That's 1. That's 1 cup right there. I know I'm overdoing it a little bit here. That's 2. And probably with my overage on my every time, that's probably 4 cups of sugar right there. But we're going to turn this on low. I'm going to kind of shield us from the... It doesn't usually cause a really big cloud. We'll scrape it down. We'll keep doing that in between. And it says you want to beat this until it's light and fluffy. Okay, so I've divided half of the frosting because I'm going to put some food coloring in this because I want the end product of the frosting to look like the inside of a sunflower. I know a lot of people have issues using food coloring, and if you do, then don't do it. Just put the white on there and let it go. I just wanted it to look as close to a sunflower as I could get it, and so I'm choosing to do this. But you have to make your own decisions according to what you feel is right for you and your family. There we go. All right. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to make little stars. Now you could do this with a different tip and probably have it come out looking a little more like a sunflower seed. But for me, this is going to be just fine. I just wanted to kind of give you guys the idea of what to do. This would be really cute for a little girl's party. Do different color flowers. I really like it. Now I think it would have looked better had I done something like a white cake with chocolate icing or a chocolate cake with chocolate icing, because the chocolate icing would have looked more like the center of the sunflower. But I was trying to use the carrots that we freeze dried to show you how simple it is to use freeze dried foods. I love my freeze dryer, Just yesterday, I made several powders from some things that have been in my pantry for a while. And right now in the freeze dryer, I have all kinds of greens, spinach and turnip greens and collard greens and different things. I also have some mushrooms in there so that I can make cream of mushroom soup. And I'm going to powder all the greens up and be adding those to different recipes to give you just a little more nutrition. Well, these are turning out really cute. All right, guys, here's how they look. Some of them are not as pretty as others because Mama's tired, but I think they turned out really cute. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you will give this a try. Even if you don't freeze dry or dehydrate your carrots, you can always use fresh carrots. That'll be just fine. Nana loves you. Nana is so proud of you. Remember, you always have a friend here. I'll see you on the next one.